Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Don't mind the lighting. I'm doing some editing. This is the real life. I do one video a week. Okay, last week I filmed a masterclass. What am I going to put out this week? I'm going to give you a sneak peek on that masterclass. I share my own story, my own hurdles to become a successful, happy mompreneur, right? Entrepreneur turned mom, and that transition that I went through. And it was a tough road that I want to save you from. I also share in this masterclass 3 common mistakes moms make as they try to get their business up and running, or pivoting, right? If they're pivoting in business or whatever they're doing, scaling in business, they're making these 3 common mistakes that are keeping them from all the freedom that they started their business for. And in the first 10 minutes, you're going to learn a lot from this masterclass. So I'm going to give you a nice little chunk, but to see the whole masterclass, you will have to register. Okay, so I'll include the link in the description on how to register to see the entire masterclass. But for now, here's a nice little sneak peek. Hello, welcome to the masterclass. I'm going to start this masterclass, though, a lot different than anyone else might be starting their masterclasses. That's because this is not like a typical masterclass. I'm going to clue you in on the reason you're struggling to balance business and babies. You know that you want to be an amazing mom and entrepreneur, right? A highly successful, incredible, powerful entrepreneur, because you want to build a legacy for your kids. And right now you're listing out all the sacrifices you have to make to get there, or you're thinking of the reasons it won't work. So if you've ever wondered, how can I do both without feeling like I'm failing at one? This masterclass is for you. I'm Yvette, the declutterist. Hi, I'm a clarity and mindset coach for over 10 years now. I'm also a mom of 2 very precious baby boys. They're not babies anymore. They're toddlers, but they'll always be my babies, right? If you know, you know. Moms, they're always our babies. So you can immediately stop the insanity of doing more than you need to, so that you can know what it feels like to make more money by doing less. And by more money, I mean profit. Not just income to pay the bills or fees or buy inventory. No, I mean cash in your pocket to do whatever the hell you want with the kids' profit. Because think of all the opportunities you want for them, trips you can take them on, adventures, vacations, memories you can make, right? So that kind of profit, the time and money freedom kind, right? How do you make sure you're not wasting the fleeting few hours that you have with both? Well, then, there's no more wasting time on things that aren't important, that don't matter, and don't move the needle forward in your business or towards your vision in this season of motherhood. So how do you balance business and babies in this new normal of yours? You may already have a business that demands just as much of you as a job because you built it that way. Or you may have a fledgling business that you can't get off the ground because you haven't found your flow, or you're creatively blocked, or you're scared to go all in, or you don't trust that you can actually do it. It starts to feel really quickly that you can't do both, but you can. And I'm so sorry you ever sat in the uncomfortable dilemma of trying to choose. You don't have to choose. Let me show you what I mean, because I hope to save you from the mistakes I made as a new postpartum mom who was also an entrepreneur. Because before I became a mom, I was an entrepreneur. I've worked with brands like Disney, Universal Music Group, Kawasaki, Taco Bell in the branding, media, and advertising space. I come from a marketing background with an MBA, emphasis in consumer psychology, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since first leaving corporate life. I wrote a book on decluttering the mind and have coached thousands to declutter their minds and get out of their own way. And I've been interviewed on the news, on podcasts, on stages, featured on Huffington Post, Medium, and other publications. And after all that, I still second guessed who I was to even do this now that I had babies. As if my worth and value faded as an entrepreneur because I was a mom. No wonder moms feel so alone. I personally was stuck in identity crisis, asking, why would anyone want to learn from me? And I was stuck in postpartum depression, asking if I even mattered. I actually pictured my kids doing fine without me, like maybe even better off if I wasn't here. If you're feeling that way right now as you watch this, please know you're not alone. And there is a way through that feeling. What hurt the most was I was supposed to be in my baby bliss bubble, but instead I found myself crying without knowing why. I remember Being in this beautiful hotel room after a full sunny day at Disneyland, my boys were on cloud nine. It was like an ad for Disney. Their faces, their happiness, it was everything every mom wants to be part of. And here I was, bawling myself to sleep, absolutely, utterly miserable, and I didn't know why. That's when I realized I couldn't live like this. I want to enjoy motherhood. And so I started taking care of myself in new ways. I had to develop new tools and come up with new techniques to help me as a new mom of two boys under two. I also chose to pivot in my business a lot. I stripped away the busy work, leaned out my team and tech, and life got super simple. And I think as a result of that, my connection with my kids is strong and my business is soaring. And I feel like I've figured out the secret to a happy mompreneur life. And it's great here. It's magical. And that's not to say there aren't challenges, of course, almost daily, but they don't hold us down or me down anymore. I know better, and my kids deserve better. And I want to share my secret sauce with you today. And yet, what's the typical state of mind for a mother? Overworked, overlooked, and underappreciated? Burdened, burnt out, exhausted, ashamed, isolated, full of guilt whenever it feels like we're not measuring up to our own expectations, let alone everyone else's? These are low-level vibrations, and they don't bode well for balance, presence, or peace. There are 3 mistakes I see mompreneurs make that keep them from that experience. Like mistake number 1, mompreneurs are focused on the wrong metric. Other people's opinions, views, follows, likes, subscribers. Burnout is what happens when you're focused on the wrong metric, instead of focusing on the truth of who you are and how you actually want to live your life. The biggest lie I've ever told myself was, I need to work hard to make money, which is also the equivalent of money is hard to make. So you could see how I might have set myself back for some years, because that limiting belief earned me $62,000 a year before I finally quit corporate life and became a digital nomad, backpacking South America and doubling my income in 1 month. And so the new metrics are how little energy you waste resisting, or how you don't react to triggers, or how quickly you return to calm, even how you act from trusting yourself, right? I started measuring myself against how close I can get to my wildest dreams come true. Each new dream bigger than the last, and always includes my kids. Mistake number 2, mompreneurs are depleting their ATM. A term tossed around the online space with different meanings, but I heard Amy Porterfield use it to mean attention, time, and money. And that resonated with why moms are going into debt, feeling scattered, and wasting years that they could be living up to their potential with their tiny humans. And a lot of it is because we've learned to operate in the masculine more than in the feminine. So there's imbalance within our bodies, brains, and our ability to rest as mothers. And if we're focused on affirmations, analytics, and algorithms, then we're consumed with what we can't control, more of the rat race. Dating back to when moms started heavily going back to work in the 1970s, which meant they weren't home or available for their kids as much, it was part of an empowered movement, the second wave of feminism, and economic pressure because single income households started to get left behind. And that's not a right or wrong. It was necessary and corrective and long overdue, right? That women fight for equality and get it. But it came with its trade-offs that weren't acknowledged at the time. With so many ways to run your business now, you don't have to follow the same footsteps as your parents' generation or be subject to the same rigid hours and little structural and societal support. Mistake number 3. Mompreneurs are overthinking and overcomplicating the process. Hard work, hustle, headaches, that's how you get ahead in business, right? Can business be done without the old paradigms and patterns that come from old school thinking, rooted in poverty, scarcity, lack, and limitation? Yes. Yes, it can. There's definitely an old way of doing business as a mom, making all those mistakes, like Zoe. She's constantly overwhelmed, thinking about what she has to do for her business and her family, but feeling stuck because there's no organization, no systems, no time. And this ends up making her super anxious and paralyzed with fear most days. And then there's the new way of doing business as a mom, like Chloe. She's clear on her goals, her priorities, her path to get there. And so she's able to remove obstacles in the way of her living a full, rich life. Everything in her business and at home is coming together with almost no effort on her part. So, how do you go from Zoe to Chloe? The simple answer: you uncomplicate your life and business. You free yourself to do what matters most.